Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show host or the guest are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to this. This is the 39th episode of A Couple Takes on MS. Hi, this is Dan Digman.
Hi, it's me, Jennifer Digman, sitting right along next to Dan.
And what we're talking about today, this morning, whenever you're listening to this program, we're talking about exercise the MS demon. And exercise meaning literally exercising, like physical motion, movement, exercise with a chronic illness like multiple sclerosis.
And just how very important it is to stay moving. However you can incorporate movement into your life, the importance of it. And exercise is something Dan and I have become especially more familiar with in the last 6 or 8 months as we've started exercising pretty regularly, wouldn't you say?
And I would say, yeah, and I think before y'all tune out or say, oh, I don't exercise, go with us on this. I mean, think about this. I mean, I have relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis, and I used to run, but I don't anymore. But finding that ability or that nerve, that energy to get up and go do some kind of movement. So, I mean, if I can do it, and then Jennifer, who...
I have secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, and I've been in a wheelchair. I haven't walked in more than 16 years. And so it could be a little, you think, oh, I don't walk. And I'm sure those of you out there, you may understand if you're not walking, or if you're weak on one side of your body because of your multiple sclerosis, or if you're like Dan, someone who used to run and is not able to do that anymore. You may think that exercise is dead to you, but we're here to encourage you to exercise that MS demon. Or if you're not living with multiple sclerosis, if you're a caregiver for someone who is living with MS, or you yourself may have some different ailment, or even if you're a healthy person, we encourage you to exercise because it's really, really some powerful, good stuff.
And obviously there are, and we hear about this in terms of the benefits of exercising. Obviously, you build up more energy over time. I mean, obviously, I always felt that like maybe the first 2 weeks you start an exercise regimen, you're exhausted. Your muscles ache, your muscles hurt, but eventually your body, you start to crave that physical activity. I remember, here's the thing, okay, people.
Yes, Dan.
I was not a runner until I met one Jennifer Urich.
That's me.
That is you.
Well, that was me.
That was you.
I'm Jennifer Digman.
You're very
now.
much a Digman now.
Yes.
But here's the thing. I just started walking every day because I wanted to stay healthy for this girl I had met. But then eventually you start running because I build up the stamina with the walking, and then you short little runs and then add a little more. So I think it's just building that momentum, building up that strength.
Okay, you have to be honest though, Dan. You were walking, but part of the reason you started running is because you wanted to get home after work and watch Sports Center.
I was going to say because
Sports Center kind of helped light the fire.
Well, I figured that it was because I'd always go out walking after work for 2 miles, and it dawned on me that I could get that 2 miles done a lot quicker if I ran it because Sports Center was on at 6 o'clock. So that helped. And then once you hit that, I was up to like 2 miles running, and I'm like, it's only another 1.1 miles, and I could be running a 5K, and so I did over time. And I think, and we'll talk about the risks later, but I mean that's just talking about giving yourself that time to work yourself up to that point of quote unquote maximum health.
And because certainly you didn't say, oh, I'm going to go for a walk because there's a girl I want to stay healthy for. And then a week later, you're like, oh, I think I'm going to start running. I mean, you gradually worked up to it, and that's the way with exercise for me, too. I have a standing frame. Because of my MS, I no longer am able to stand.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, and that's where, I was walking and everything, but you can't walk. You can't stand by yourself. So then how do you, as a person with secondary progressive MS, exercise and get your motion?
Well, I don't want to use the word locked in, but that's kind of how it is. I get positioned into a standing frame. And if you've never seen one, Google standing frame. It's like a seat that cranks up once I'm strapped in, and it gets me into a standing position. And the first time I remember doing it, I could stand no more than like 30 seconds because I got so dizzy because I hadn't stood in such a number of years for a long period of time. And now I'm up to 30 minutes standing, but that took a long, gradual time to get to that peak. I think 30 minutes, I do that now 3 times a week, and I think that's ideal. And that's my goal. And I don't want to be dramatic, but if I don't stand, I get cranky because I miss that feeling. So I think when you were running, or even still, today you were doing some work outside, and you just knew you had to go for a walk, where you miss that activity when you don't have it, wouldn't you say?
Well, you totally do. I mean, because I'm a writer, and so I'm sitting, typing, sitting at a computer, and it's just to get up, obviously get up and get a cup of coffee, get up and do things, but the other thing is to get up and get that motion.
So it all happens pretty gradually.
And that's kind of how we got our start, like really earlier this year.
Yes, we did. We were fortunate. Actually, I was pretty fortunate.
You started it.
Yeah, I did. Give me credit. Thanks, Guy.
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity to work with the Doctor of Physical Therapy students from Central Michigan University. I was lucky to be part of a program there. And that just kind of, again, helped gradually introduce me to exercise with these 3 amazing students, Danny, Nate, and Andy. And they worked with me, and the CMU PT students have a soft spot in their hearts for multiple sclerosis, apparently, because those 3, along with the rest of their PT student class, they started a program for people living with Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis. It's a Move for Health, and it's a big movement class for those living with the neurologic conditions.
Well, I think what's awesome about this program, and I think wherever you are, go look at your exercise facilities and stuff and see if there are like adaptive learning or adaptive movement exercise classes. I think that what's so nice about this particular program is it's once a week, and it's free physical therapy. And what they do is they have like exercises, but they have enough volunteers there. I mean, these are PT students looking to get experience to like help adapt the exercises based on your abilities. I think I'm more active, and I'm able to do more. So they make things harder for me, and they have exercises for Jennifer and people
adapted
who can't.
For me.
Yeah.
Because these are Doctor of Physical Therapy students. I mean, these are our future physical therapists, and judging from this group of students, we're in good hands. But they always say, you know, as Dan and I are thanking them immensely for what they're doing, they're thanking us for as much as we get out of it. They in turn get experience working with patients in an environment where they can get to know people and deal with their conditions. So like Dan says, look out at what resources you have in your community. Doesn't have to be a college or a university, but just, you know, a senior citizen center or at a Y or even an exercise facility in your community, because that's a great resource for exercise.
Well, I think that's the thing with this move class that happens once a week, and it's not like I don't leave there drenched in sweat and hot and tired, but it's good movement, and you feel the benefit of the exercise. You know, so we talked about the more energy, but I find that when I exercise, I sleep better. I know that those of us with multiple sclerosis, you see it on your Facebook and all these social media things where people can complain about, you know, those of us with MS. Not everyone, but obviously some, and I know I'm one of them, that you can go through the entire day just being exhausted, but come time for bed, you can't sleep. And so exercising, I do find that I sleep better.
And I find that I'm less spastic. You know, instead of just treating my spasticity with medication, my move class, that I get opportunities to stretch my muscles and strengthen to the best of their ability. And that cuts down on some of the tone and the spasticity I'm dealing with. And I feel better about myself when I'm exercising. You know, partly because, you know, yes, I'm doing something good for my multiple sclerosis and for my health, but it's really fun for me to be in a social setting with a class of 15 other people and just like cheering each other on and seeing the improvements that we're making. So I think that's another benefit for me. Would you agree? You
Absolutely.
see that?
Well, I think in doing that, you always, if you exercise with other people, all of a sudden you have somebody that that's depending on you, that you have to be, that's holding you accountable. Likewise, then you're holding them accountable.
And you push them and they push you. Like, look at me, Dan, you know, look what I can do. Can you beat that or can you top that? So I think that's a good thing. And then speaking of accountability, I think one of the things that holds me accountable is my weight, you know, my Weight Watcher support group. And one of the benefits most certainly of exercising and being a participant in this Move for Health class is that I have noticed I haven't lost a ton of weight, but I think I've noticed enough where I have lost a little, and the scale reflects that, and I think that's like a win-win, an added bonus to exercising. So I think that's certainly a benefit.
And then when you feel better, you start to eat better, and you know, and I'd always thought it was always, I don't want to say funny, but it was interesting when I was running.
Yes.
And I was burning calories so much. I mean,
I was so jealous at how much you could eat, and the scale would not move an inch for you.
Well, and that's it. And I know that people, as they get healthy, and then they start eating healthier and everything. And I always thought, you know, but boy, when you're exercising and burning the calories, I thought, well, that's your license to eat bad because you're going to burn the calories. However, it helps you to eat better because you need good fuel to energize yourself. And so I think that's the big thing. But the one thing that, you know, and again, we're not exercise therapists, we're not doctors, we're speaking solely from our experiences and what's worked for us, what hasn't worked. But the one thing that we continue to read, the one thing that you need to do before you just go out and start exercising, talk to a doctor, talk to a physical therapist, let them assess your abilities to give you recommendations for what you can and can't do, because like right now, I could not go out and, you know, I can barely walk around the block without feeling exhausted.
Right, and part of the reason that you've limited your running, or I hate to say stopped running because that's just
I did
sad,
stop.
but since you've stopped running is the risks and the dangers and falling, and you certainly, if, with your compromised balance, for any of us living with MS, you may have compromised balance, or you may have foot drop or weakness somewhere in your extremities. So I think that's why it's really important to talk to your doctor or to see a physical therapist to design a routine so you can stay exercising. And I know I've talked to Dan a number of times about how land-based exercise is a little more difficult for me. And as the weather in Michigan will eventually get warm, I would like to investigate swimming because I think aquatic therapy could be really beneficial. And so, that's something you have to find the exercise that you will continue to do and that won't bore you. But that's important that you find your activity so that you stay active and keep moving.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing, and that's where if you used to exercise, say you were like the epitome of good health, and then this stupid disease comes along and knocks you up, knocks you over. I think part of the problem I did stop running because I would get weak and I'd drag my left foot, and then I was falling, and the risks weren't paying off.
No.
and stuff. And I always feel, and Jennifer would always ask me, like if we're out driving and we see somebody running, she looks and she's like, "Do you miss it?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I miss running. However, I don't miss it enough to go and try and get back in that shape." But I do know that when I was still, back as I was trying to work my way back into running, there was always this feeling that if I could not run 4 miles without, exhausting myself, it's just like it wasn't worth it to me. And because I was at that level where
Right.
you're just like, 4 miles is like, I have to be able to do that, and anything less was unacceptable. Now it's just like that if I could walk around the block twice, I would be a rock star. And I think that's what it is giving yourself that latitude to be able to know that something is better than nothing.
And you need to listen to your body, because I would be so sad as your wife if you were like, "No, Jennifer, I'm not going to stop running. I'm going to continue." Because I don't need my husband to fall and crack open his head or to break a limb. And so I appreciate that you exercise within your boundaries and your physical limitations, and you listen to your body, which I think is so important if you're going to start incorporating more activity, exercise into your daily routine. Whether you're living with a chronic illness like MS or you're just living, you really need to listen to your body and respect it.
Well, I think that's where there's the notion of listening and respecting your body, and I don't want to use. Well, I'm going to use it, but it's just like you have to know your limits, and some days you are going to overdo it. I mean, that's just, but you'll learn your lesson.
Right.
I'm likening it to when you're in college and you can finally start drinking alcohol. It's just like you've got to push your limits. You have to know your limits and know when to stop, and it's not always going to be pretty, but you'll learn and you won't do that much anymore. I was really surprised with you today. I'm out on the deck. I'm working, and Jennifer has a leg bike where she
a passive peddler.
Passive peddler, and I think that you always what it is it's like a motorized peddler. You plug it in, and Jennifer had always questioned, was that really exercise for her, because she says she's not really doing the motion, it's the electric
It's the machine doing it for me.
But you've decided and learned that
it is exercise, that I'm moving, and it's good for my circulation, and it is, I want to say, strengthening me a little bit. And I think today, speaking of going a little, like needing to know your limits, today I was watching a television show and boom, 45 minutes was gone and I was still pedaling on my bike. And
I want to ask then, what inspired you to go, because traditionally you go 30 minutes on your leg bike. What pushed you to go 45 today?
Well, 45 today, could I just call her out?
Yeah, it's call her out.
Yeah,
Call her out. So this is really exciting.
I want to say our friend Lisa Emmerich. She was featured in an article in Brain and Life magazine about exercise, coincidentally enough. And she was talking about just how beneficial riding a bike has been for her. And she's riding in bike MS events and she's doing fantastic. And I just felt so encouraged after I was paging through the magazine and I read the story. I was like, well, if Lisa can do it and she's doing it with her own gumption and her own muscles and she's a champion, I'm like, I can use my passive bike and let the ladies of the talk, keep me amused. And I the next thing you know, 45 minutes was gone.
And that's what. And Lisa, if you recognize her name as we're talking, Lisa Emmerich is like superstar motivation. I mean, she's a MS blogger,
a writer.
Yeah, and she writes for Health Central, and she has Brass and Ivory is her blog. And check her out. But this was really exciting then to be featured in this magazine, and we encourage you because it is such a great article about exercising when you have MS or a chronic disease and just exercise, period.
The article that Lisa's featured in, Lisa's story is featured in, is about neurologic illness. They talk about Parkinson's or fibromyalgia, I think they may have mentioned. And there's some different conditions and just how beneficial exercise can be. And the Brain and Life magazine was the April-May 2018 edition.
And I think you can find that online, but really look at that because we're just kind of glazing over our personal experiences, but they really get into really more specifics that can help you shape your life. And I think one of the things as we were talking about finding other ways, finding friends exercise, don't underestimate the videos that you can get online, your YouTube channels and everything. And
Absolutely. I always joke that Dan and I have a smart TV, but we're stupid owners. So when my sister-in-law and Dan's sister Dawn was out visiting us a few months ago or a few weeks ago, she showed us how our smart TV gets us access to YouTube channels with exercise videos.
And Dawn, my sister is a beast, and that's
in a good way.
She is. Dawn is a was the shot put thrower. She was all-American shot putter in college, and she had breast cancer earlier, and so she's working her way back up to great health following treatment. So I got up, and she's out here in the living room just punching and dancing with the videos she had on YouTube. So it's just like finding ways to keep yourself intrigued, interested, and moving forward.
Absolutely, because there are so many ways. You can exercise at a gym or at a health club, as we talked about, or at a university, as we were experiencing with our move class. But you can get videos online, on the TV, at the library. There are books. There are so many different ways that you can stay active. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, because I'm sure, and I know full well, they have tons of resources about the importance of activity, as I'm sure, a number of other MS organizations, you can find the information out there.
And I think the one thing that this is my own personal thing, and I always view the exercising like running. When I ran, I never was going to win the race. I wasn't that fast. But really what it became was really more going after a personal best. What's my personal record, because it's me and I'm the one that I'm measuring myself against. So I think that's the big thing. When you go out and you're exercising, it's great to exercise with another person, but they're pushing you to reach your potential. You're not trying to reach their potential. So always look to yourself to make yourself and find your personal best. And so I can't lift a 20-pound dumbbell anymore, but by God, if I can do 10 pounds several times, multiple
Yeah.
times, that's for me, that's my personal best. And
And
Jennifer, if you're,
I agree with that because I never really heard personal record or your PR until you were running. And it is very much, for me, if I'm standing in that standing frame for 30 minutes, I feel like a champion. And today I went 45 minutes on my leg bike. And those little things, I'd like to swim this summer or just be in aquatic therapy, lift weights. So just stay active as possible.
and I think that's the big thing is when you start in one area and then it encourages you to do more because now you're up to 45 minutes on your leg bike, you're standing in your standing frame, boom, you're going to go swim. So I think that's the moral of the story for today's show, exercising the MS demon. Stay active.
And do it for yourself and don't look at exercise as a demon. You're exercising to get rid of that demon or to control your demon of multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's or any condition that you're living with. So really, we're encouraging you to exercise and be active. Stay moving.
And so with that, we want to thank the MS&Me Radio Network again for including us and our voices in this network of all these incredible programs. And thanks again for taking the time to listen to us today. And if you're exercising, check in with us. Let us know what you're doing to stay active despite your MS. Find us on Twitter at DanJenDig.
And we're on Facebook, Dan and Jennifer Digman.
And look on our website at danandjenniferdigman.com. Check it out. Check in with us. And until next time, thanks for listening to A Couple Takes on MS. This is Dan Digman.
And this is me, Jennifer Digman.
Okay, we appreciate it. We'll check in with you next week. Take care.